Okay, so I've got Geogabra in action here, and I've drawn on some polygons. You can see them all here. You can see the hexagon, trapezium, I think that's a square or a rectangle, not quite sure. And we're going to illustrate how to draw a prism because these are actually drawn in Geogabra 3D. So you can quite see that there's an extra axis coming sort of out of the computer, and this is me looking down from above onto the shapes. So let's go and make them, and it's on the solids tool, and you can see many tools on the side here. And if we go to the solids, there is this guy called extrude prism. So we click on the shape and we just say how high we want it, and when we turn, go back to the arrow tool, we see that it's looking like this. All right, and now that this helps us actually find the surface area of this solid. If you are thinking about trying to wrap this up in paper, what area of paper would you need? Well, you would need obviously a hexagon for the bottom. You'd need a hexagon for the top, because remember that's the definition of a prism. And look at all the sides. All the sides are actually rectangles, and each rectangle is this length on the base. So you'll need the size of the hexagons, right? And you'll need the height of the prism. And just to help you see exactly how that looks, we can go to the solids and we can click on the net. We can click on the solid, and look, that's what happens. Can you see how this is unpacked now into a net? And this would all fold up back in to make the solid. Let's look at it from another angle. Hopefully you can see and get an understanding of, if we make a net of a solid, we can work out the surface area by working all the areas of those blue shapes. And when we look down on it again, you can see that we have the two hexagons, and all of these guys look like squares, but it just depends on how high I actually made this hexagon look. As I make it higher, you can see that these side pieces now are rectangles. Alright, so the surface area of a hexagonal prism is the two hexagons, top and bottom, and then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 identical rectangles. Right, let's just close that up again. Now let's look onto a harder solid, I think. So up on the top, can you see I've got a parallelogram? And I've got all the side lengths measured, 5.65, 5.65, the 2.85 on the sides, and the 1.98, the height of the parallelogram. Now before, when I'm working out the whole area of this parallelogram, this 2.85 on the sloping side really doesn't play any part in the area here. But now watch what happens when I turn this into a prism. So we need to go to the solids, select the solid, say what altitude, the height we want it, and we go back to the arrow. We can see that it's gone down the slope, which is interesting. If I can grab it and bring it up and through, fabulous. And now if I was to make the net of this, for sure I'd have a parallelogram on the bottom and the top. Are all these sides parallelograms, or are they rectangles like the hexagonal prism? Well, let's see. If I look from the top once more, you can actually see, can't you, that they are indeed rectangles. You can see that opening up now. So we have a parallelogram on the bottom and the top, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rectangles attached to the sides at the bottom here. So that's quite interesting, isn't it? If I just zoom out a little bit and I open up, there we go. Let me go back to the move. Let's go back to the net. It doesn't seem to want to work this time. There we go. And let me just go back to the move so we can look down it from the top. Perfect. So we have the parallelogram on the bottom, the parallelogram on the top, and we have 2 rectangles of the same area based on one of the sides of the parallelogram. we have two rectangles of a different area based on the other side of the parallelogram. So I hope that visual helps you visualize the surface area of prisms. And of course, if we went to the other polygons that we've drawn, we'd be able to do a similar thing. Let's do one more. Let's do this trapezium, because that might be tricky, but I'm guessing it's going to be trapezium on the bottom, trapezium on the top, and 1, 2, 3, 4 rectangles. And the rectangles will have this, the side of the trapezium as one of its sides, and then the height of the prism. So let's go and try and do that one. So it's under the solids, extrude to prism, this guy here. Fabulous. And then we will do the net under the solids again. Beautiful. We'll go to the arrow tool to move it around. Let's look down from above. Perfect, look. Trapezium 1, trapezium 2, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rectangles attached to each side of the trapezium. You can see as we close it up, it forms this beautiful solid here. And there we have it. I hope that helps.